Raoul said he sold all of his gold for Bitcoin. Genius, foolish, or pump and dump? Okay, so that's a good question. And you guys have to understand that when you look at your portfolio, you have to consider your entire life. Like, you have to look at not just your balance sheet, but you have to look at your P&L. And I can't remember if we were recording when I was talking to Raoul about this. It might have been like prior or after us recording, because I can't remember whether it got on the podcast. But he was talking about his rationale for doing what he did. And a big component of that was he has so much cash flow coming in from his businesses that he can afford to take maybe a little bit more risk and go into an asset that's quite a bit more volatile than someone else that didn't have any cash flow coming in at all. So I know a lot of people on FinTwit, they look at what Raoul did and they just, well, if Raoul did it, it's good enough for me. He's a lot smarter than I am, and I'm going to go ahead and do that as well. But what they don't see they don't see in a holistic approach. They don't see it in its the total of what he's doing when you look at the P&L and the balance sheet. They just see that one component of what he does. You know, if you, let's say you've got a $50 million portfolio and you bought, I don't know, let's say 30 million in Bitcoin. Well, that's a lot different if you're retired and you have $50 million compared to you've got a $50 million portfolio and you're making $3 million a year and you're 45 years old. Like, that's a big, big difference, right? So make sure that you're using that as a starting point. And so, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is, for some people, yeah, that would be foolish. For other people, it could be genius. Now, I would say for 99%, and this is why I always talk about the 10-80-10 type portfolio, and this is why I say that I don't really think it's too good of an idea to take all your eggs and put them in one basket, you know, take 90% into Bitcoin as an example. I don't, you know, and I'm kind of using that as a blanket statement for 99.9% of the population. But I don't, you know, I don't think that's right for everybody. Another thing you got to realize is Raoul is a pro. That's what he does for a living. He's been through this. He's lived this for decades. So Raoul is going to know when to sell. He's going to know when to buy. More importantly, Raoul can control his emotions, where most amateurs, like me included, like if I had 90% of my portfolio in one asset, what are you doing? You're looking at your phone every single day. You're probably looking at it every minute, looking at the price. Oh, what's Bitcoin doing now? What's gold doing now? What's this stock doing now? What are my Tesla shares doing? What are my Apple shares doing? Right? If you've got your portfolio set up in a way where you're checking your phone every 5 minutes, getting price quotes, it ain't set up the right way. I can tell you that right now. And I can guarantee you, Raoul is not looking at the price of Bitcoin every minute. There's no way, you see. So you not only have to look at your P&L and your balance sheet, but you also have to look at your skill set. You have to look at how much experience you have, and you have to look at how emotional you are, or you're going to be about your portfolio. And just the fact that we're all human beings, that means that we're hardwired for emotion. The person that can look at their portfolio just like a robot, they are the anomaly. They aren't the norm. And so we need to admit that about ourselves, understand that that's a weakness for investors. And we have to set up our portfolio accordingly, right? So I think that's probably the best way, because Raoul's a brilliant guy, and for him, maybe this was genius. I think for 99.999% of people out there, I think it. I don't want to say anything that Raoul does would be foolish, but I don't think it would be a good idea. Let's put it that way. And let me be clear, it's not to say that I'm not bullish on Bitcoin. Short term, I am very hesitant because of how much emotion is in Bitcoin right now. Long term, I'm more bullish, but but it's the same with gold. I think everyone should own 10% of their portfolio should be in gold. But it's not to say that I think you should buy 100 or you should have 100% of your portfolio in gold. That's a much different question.